Okay, you have received a lot of information in this particular module about how to choose curriculum wisely. These are things that you need to know about: the different types of approach, the way your child learns, the different types of subjects before you can choose curriculum for your child. Now, what I have prepared is a curriculum spotters form, because this is the process that you want to go through each time you pick out curriculum. Now, it's very important to do it these first couple of years while you're learning, but eventually you'll be familiar with the different types of approach, the different types of curriculum, and some of this stuff you can just keep in your head. I encourage you, even at that time, not to always keep it in your head, because when it's out of your head and on paper, I know, but pen and paper has been proven to be an effective way of remembering. And it also makes you slow down. When I write, it impresses up on my mind. I slow down. I think about what I'm writing. Sometimes these fillable type of homeschool planning things, we just fill them out. They look so pretty. They look nice online. And sometimes they can just be unrealistic because it's just so easy to type it all in. And it looks nice, but it's not really realistic of what we can get done for the day. So by taking time to write these things out, you have them in front of you. You can keep them. You can bind these forms in your planner. That's the other thing you want to do. Any of these, the goals, everything that you have printed, you can bind in your planner. You can look back mid-year. You can look back at the end of the year and see what you wrote, what your plans are. That way you don't lose your way. Okay, so what I want to do now is that you have all of this thrown at you. I want to give you a starting point. I want to walk you through how to pick it. I want to how to pick curriculum. I want to hold your hand and give you specifics, because the goal, really, most seasoned homeschoolers will tell you this, is that really you want to be an eclectic homeschooler, which is you just kind of pick and choose from different ones. But what I've always found is that there's always one approach that seems to be primary or dominant. And that's what you're trying to figure out in this particular boot camp while you're here. Okay, and I've given you a lot of forms. I've armed you with a lot of information. You have the budget-friendly curriculum. Now, in the 5 steps, when I said, here's our map, here's where we're going, I said, know the law. And that's not just, if you haven't taken time to look it up, it's fine to look it up and quote it back to me. But when I mean know the law, how are you going to implement it? Being able to quote it is quite different than being able to meet it or follow through. And I don't mind helping you with some of that. But local state groups are the ones to ask. Okay, they have local state groups. There's moms that have been homeschooling long time that say that sounds like it's a heavy responsibility, but here's the way we meet that, and they give you some great tips and tricks for doing that. But if you can't find that, post, I'll help you with that. Okay, so knowing the law is completely different from meeting the law. Okay, when you meet the guidelines of what it says, how am I actually going to meet the guidelines? Like, I know what the law is here in Texas. It doesn't really tell us what grades I have to teach what subjects. It just says teach these subjects and don't teach them in a sham way. I'm like, okay. It's up to me, really, how I want to teach those subjects and when I teach them. It doesn't really go into any more specifics than that. I have a lot of leeway about which subjects I'm going to teach. Okay, the second part, know your child. And this is where a lot of new homeschoolers go wrong. They jump out, they choose curriculum, and the truth of it is, you have an idea of what your child struggles with, but you're wearing a different hat. You're wearing a teacher hat. So now you need to find out, oh, I thought they knew this. This is something they were supposed to learn in 3rd grade, but here it is 5th grade, and she doesn't know it. You see, so it's completely different when you wear a teacher hat. Now, the budget-friendly curriculum list that I have for you is a way of using curriculum that's just what it says, budget-friendly. It's a way of finding out what your child knows in a very inexpensive way. And no, I don't mean get the worksheets out of those workbooks and just do them day after day after day. That is not homeschooling. The purpose of knowing your child is to use one of those inexpensive workbooks, the ones I'm talking about you get from Walmart, Costco, Evan Moore. I love Evan Moore. I used Evan Moore for my whole homeschool journey. Their skill sharpeners are great. You can even start off using that and still use part of those in your homeschool journey. Any of the big workbooks they have for pre-K, kindergarten, look in the table of contents for those grades. What are they learning? What are they supposed to be exposed to? Does your child know those things? Get a couple of grade levels. If you think your child's this grade level, they're so inexpensive, get a grade level up or down if you think they're struggling. Knowing your child takes time. That's what you're doing during deschooling. That's how you get to know them. Well, I don't know the best way they learn. These little workbooks, this beginning, this inexpensive budget-friendly curriculum will guide you. And how will it guide you? It will help you to have conversations with your child. You can see the skills for this particular grade. Now, we don't want to make our child feel like they don't know anything. But what you're doing is you're taking notice. They didn't really like this. They prefer to watch this on YouTube, or they prefer to read about this. They really didn't want to do the work. But those are all good indicators of how your child learns best. But you're using this budget-friendly curriculum to guide you while you're deschooling to get to know your child's strengths, weaknesses. You know your child. You know what they struggled with. But like I said, you don't know them as well as you would if you were one-to-one tutoring them right now, which you will. You'll eventually know that as you tutor them longer and give them that one-to-one attention. So that's the reason for the budget-friendly curriculum. Also, sometimes homeschoolers will say, well, I need help. My kid's special needs, or I have a gifted child. The truth of it is, there's not curriculum that's specifically for a gifted child. There are curriculum providers that say they're more for advanced and they tout for gifted learners. And there's some curriculum that's even easier that can be tweaked for special needs too. And I've listed those also in the forms, because sometimes a lot of homeschool moms will be exhausted because the school is not meeting their child's needs. And that's hard. And it's hard to teach a gifted child because they have an appetite that just doesn't quit. It's exhausting. I've learned through the years to just follow their lead is the best thing. Special needs can be just as exhausting. You never get a break from them. They may have some other issues involved. When you homeschool, what you're saying is, I'm going to be the best coach for my child. And just know, there's not one particular curriculum that I can say, oh, this is the best for your needs. It's not like that, because even children with the same set of issues, saying perhaps there's sensory issues involved, you'll get two different opinions from two different moms about the same curriculum. This didn't work for us at all. Another mom said, this worked for us great. So this is the time that you're going to have to find out what's going to work for you, something more laid out or something you put together. And so I have a list of that type of curriculum that I feel is easier to tweak and say, okay, we can get a pretty close fit with this type of curriculum when my child has this special needs or when my child is gifted. Okay, so I have that in there too. Also, I have a review of the common homeschool approaches. These are the popular ones. It's not all of them. There's other ones out there, but these are the ones that are popular. These are the ones that you want to start off with and know. And then I've also matched curriculum to the homeschool approach for you to give you a starting point. Okay, because like I said, eventually you want to get to where you're kind of pulling everything together and you're meeting each child's needs. One child may follow one approach and another child may follow a different approach. You don't need to worry about that right now. My goal is to take you from overwhelm to conquer this. I got this. And hear me when I say, please hear me when I say, you don't need as much curriculum as you think you do. It's just, as homeschoolers, when we grab curriculum and we have it, then we feel, oh, good, we're going to homeschool, we're going to succeed now. And it's not like that, because you're the key to this puzzle. You're a huge part of the puzzle. And by taking time now to educate yourself about what's out there, you'll be a much better teacher. You don't need that much to start with. Math, language arts, that's it. You can add the other subjects as you go along, so don't overwhelm yourself. follow the form that I have on the curriculum spotters form, because the first place I have in there is know your law. You have to know your law before you make curriculum choices. You could spend thousands of dollars and your curriculum may not meet your state law. Now, most laws, most state laws, like I've mentioned before, they're relaxed. You can control or decide what you teach, but not all states are like that. Sometimes it's easier to meet state laws if you have an accredited, if you have curriculum from an accredited school, but not always. And like I said, accredited has nothing to do with how rigorous it is, nothing. Okay, but there are states that have some strict laws, or just a handful, but most of the time you get to choose. Okay, the next part I have on here is my children learn best this way. Start paying attention to when you're giving them this budget-friendly curriculum, or when you're deschooling and you're researching projects. You've asked them, do y'all want to do this? The deschooling ideas that I had listed, the projects, the open-ended activities. Start paying attention to what they do. When they learn something, do they have some art that goes along with it? Do they have a passion to create? Or when you start looking about something, do they just go get a library book and want to read about it? Maybe they don't like the work text. Maybe they don't like a workbook. I heard a lot of parents through the years say, you know, my kid just loves worksheets. She's 4 years old and she could just do worksheets all day long. Well, sometimes, again, like I've explained, it's just what we've exposed them to. It's up to us as the teacher to rise above and set a higher bar and give our children open-ended projects, exploring. A lot of the subjects, school subjects, they fall into two categories, like an exploring type of content and the skill, which has to be taught sequentially. Writing is that way, grammar is that way, math is that way. It has to be taught in a sequence. Okay, but a lot of other subjects are very open-ended. There's a lot of room to explore, which is why homeschooling really feeds a passion of a child learning. You don't want to contain them if they're real good at science, just on a first or second grade level. They may be first or second grade, but they may have the capability of learning up to the fourth or fifth grade. Feed it, go. Let them go. The only subjects you have to worry about are math and language arts right now. So don't get overwhelmed. Don't think, I don't have history, science, geography, art. It's all right. You can add those things, and it's a lot more fun, I think, to add them as you learn more about the homeschool world. Those budget-friendly curriculum options that I have, you choose from that, and you got it. That's it. That's all you need to start right now. I don't want you to spend thousands and thousands of dollars before you know about the different approaches and what works good for you. I want you to make a better fit for your money. It's okay. We can make the money stretch, and you can tweak things, because remember, you're teaching a child, not the curriculum. You can change it. Any curriculum can have a slant to it, and it's just finding that slant, and it's finding your teaching. I should say your teaching shoes, find your teaching way. And so that's what you want to do in this particular part when you're looking for the curriculum. Okay, so here's the other things I have on what's important to me. You know, as parents, we have standards for our children. Sure, they want to learn this way, but what are some of the things I think they need to learn? Perhaps we have a child who's not motivated to learn. Perhaps they need more structure, or perhaps we have a child who's a perfectionist, and you say, okay, we need a few more creative projects. Sorry about that, guys. I have a hair here being wild on me. But maybe they are too much a perfectionist, and you say, okay, this child needs to let go. I need a few more open-ended projects. So yeah, they learn this way, but I realized to round them out as a teacher, I need to expose them to this. So write down what things are important to you. And then I just go right down with it, asking you questions so you can think about it when you choose curriculum. Remember, I explained the difference between secular, Christian-based, and faith-neutral. I've happened to use all three of those during my homeschool journey. It depends on what I needed for the year. So how does that align with your values? And that's something else. You're homeschooling because you have values, whatever they are. You want to dig deep for them. You want to hone in on it. You want to write them down. You don't want to give them up, because when it gets tough and when it gets hard, you want to come back to that. You want to say, you know what? This is what I don't want to do. We spend so much time saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to be like this, but we don't spend near enough time saying, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm going to do this first year. And I do want you to spend time doing that. What am I not going to do? when I go on my curriculum hunt. So on the other notes, put that down. I'm not going to do this. I don't want to stress my child. I don't want to make it all just about worksheets, or I want to stick to my Christian-based values. It's important to me to have that. Whatever's important to you, narrow it down, write it down, put it down. It's important. And then get curriculum that aligns with your values. Don't give that up while you're homeschooling. And then down through the next part I have on there is core subjects this year. Now this word core is thrown around a lot. And let me talk a little bit about it with you as new homeschoolers, because it has really changed the meaning of, even when new homeschoolers are talking, what homeschoolers that have homeschooled for a long time realize what it is, but the educational world has thrown in this term of core curriculum. Okay, so first let me explain. Usually core subjects means what is the heart or the spine of what you need to teach. It has nothing to do with Common Core, the educational world is touting. And Common Core only has to do with math and language arts. And that's a huge, when it came into the homeschool world, it was a huge debate among homeschoolers. And even a lot of public school teachers, they thought, well, this is a good idea. That way kids aren't repeating the same concepts that they're supposed to, if they're having a third grade, they won't have to repeat it again in fifth grade. I think they had good intentions, maybe, but it's not like that now. And a lot of homeschoolers say, well, Common Core is just another word for trying to infuse some of their agendas or ideas into our homeschooling, and I don't want any part of it. So those are choices you have to make. Those are choices you have to make. But when I'm talking about core, I mean the skill subjects. And I also mean the subjects that a child needs that year. Okay, let me explain. I'll go back over this again. I'm gonna go a little bit slow here. The skill subjects are math and language arts. But under language arts, there's like 4 different subjects: grammar, reading, writing, and spelling. It's reading in the younger years, and as the child gets older, it's literature. Now, you don't have to write this down. I have this coming up in another workshop because I'm going to tell you what to teach and when to teach it. Give you a guideline, give you a rule of thumb, because you need some kind of rule of thumb to go by. What I'm trying to do is explain how it's set up so you understand when we say core curriculum, what we're talking about. Okay, so if you have a kindergarten, core curriculum, if you have a kindergartner, core curriculum would be math and phonics and teaching them to read. That's it. That's it. Unless your state says they have to learn science, history, or something else, that's it. That's all you need to start school with. Don't make this any harder. Now, is that all you're going to do? Absolutely not. Homeschool's about having fun and exploring science and crafts and all the other open-ended things kindergartners like to do. Okay, but those are your core subjects. That's your spine. That's what you need to focus on. Math and language arts has to be taught sequentially in order. We need to start from the basics and go forward. That's it. Focus on that. Okay, that's if you have a kindergartner. Okay, let me give you this example. You have a high school team. Core subjects are not just math and language arts. Core subjects at the higher grades is math, language arts, history, and science. Those then would be your core subjects. So it really depends on the age of the child. Now, as a general rule of thumb, you even hear some states say, these are the core subjects: math, language arts, history, and science. You fill those and you're fine. But what you need to understand is, even if they are the core subjects, history and science in the beginning of your journey doesn't get as much weight. When I mean weight, I mean importance, until the foundation is formed. If a child can't read or write, he can't learn about history or science. Do you see? And sometimes new homeschoolers get unbalanced. I'll see this whole list of these subjects. If we think 1 or 2 are good, well, 17 surely should be better. And I get a headache just looking at them. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know who you're teaching and who's supposed to do all this for the day. It's just not that many subjects. Keep it simple. So what they'll do is they'll have they'll have art, they'll have music, they'll have sign language, drawing, sports. I mean, those things are important and they add to. But the focus first has to be to get those core subjects, to build that foundation, the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are our core subjects. And that's why I have on here, core subjects this year. For a kindergarten child, it's going to be different than an elementary or a high school, but only the core subjects. Don't make it any more complicated than that. In the module coming up about lesson planning and teaching, you'll see where some of these core subjects start. I give you a rule of thumb so you'll know where to start planning those at, okay? But just kind of put that right there and remember that when I have core subjects here on your curriculum spotter. It doesn't have to be that many. In the younger grades, math and language arts, but just remember language arts is also divided down into 4 subjects, 4 different subjects. Okay, here's the next thing. Main homeschool approach, your second homeschool approach. That's it. That's it. Narrow your focus to the approach when we've talked about it and you're looking over these worksheets, you can ask some more questions, you can read about them. This one aligns with what I want to do. These are the things I like about it. This second one aligns with it too. Now you notice I didn't say take all of these things because you can't do that as a first or second year homeschooler. And that's where a lot of seasoned veterans mess up when they're talking to new homeschoolers. They're like, well, I wouldn't do that. I'd do this and this and this. Well, sure they would 10 years later, but not in the beginning. You really need to narrow your focus on one so you can learn it and see, is this a good fit? And then you put your second one because then you can look and pull from that one. That's the way to start. That's an easy start. Start with one main one, then pull from that second one. Say, okay, I want to add these things into it. And then now we get three choices, top curriculum choices. Write them down. Write them down. Put them there. These are the things I like, and keep them. Keep them. You can look back at this because sometime a year or 2 later, you may say, oh, I tried that already. This is what I liked about it. It's 2 or 3 years later, I still like that about it. This is how you analyze curriculum. This is how you have your start. This is how I was talking about. You have all this curriculum up here, and remember I said we could just put in all these funnels. Boop, 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 boop. It just lines out. It really does that. How do you like those sound effects? You just line it all out, organize it. There's no sense in being overwhelmed. You can be in the know. Follow the form, and it will help you arrive at what is a good fit for your family. And then I have down there budget-friendly curriculum. And hear my heart. You can do this anytime. Say you have a rough year, things aren't working out. Go back to your budget-friendly curriculum, your startup curriculum. It is mild. It's an easy way to homeschool when there's stress. It's great for starting out. It's great for burnout tips. The kids can do a little bit of work. You can de-school. You can come back to the drawing board. If you say, you know what, I really may not know this child as well as I thought I did. They really are not learning by hands-on. They really prefer just to read a book and get it done. Or this child, I'm doing way too many worksheets. They really need a few more hands-on projects in there. Or they like to brainstorm, or they like to learn with other people. This child's real social. They want to be with other people. They have fun with other people. They learn best that way. See, we can always come back to the drawing board. So then also I have the mid-year evaluation and the year-end evaluation. And that's, you want to spend time going through that too. Write down. Your mid-year could be about 3 months. It doesn't have to be 6 months. Use this form over again if you want to. It's to help guide you and to give you a starting point with all of the information that I have shared in this module. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer those for you too. But follow along and look as you go through each step and think about each child. That's why there's a space up at the top. It's not my family, it's student. Because again, even within the same family, I've used different approaches. I've used 2 or 3 different approaches because my kids are different people. So we can do that. So it's just one kid at a time. Think about each one. And then of course, if your kids are all young, let me just say this one more thing. If your kids are all young, then as the mom, you want to choose an approach that works good for you. Okay, when I mean young, until they get about 6th grade or so, you kind of want to make the choices good for you as the teacher. What do you find easy to teach? And then gradually between about 5th grade to middle school, we kind of shift and we make the curriculum fit the child more. Okay, so if you have children that are young, then you pick out, you're the teacher. That's where you're still wearing the teacher hat. It switches in there to remember I talked earlier about supervisor hat. You start supervising and you follow more of their approach. But right now, when they're young, you make the decisions. What curriculum fits my values or aligns with my values or the way that I think a child should learn. Okay, so I just wanted to be sure you understood that part too. Okay, give a holler if you have any questions.